Picture two ancient humans standing close together by a fire. No words exchanged yet. Then, without either of them fully understanding why, their faces move closer and their lips touch. Neither of them invented this. Neither of them was taught it. Something older than both of them just took over. Here's what's strange about that moment, though. If you'd placed that same scene in half of the world's traditional societies, it wouldn't have happened at all. In 2015, anthropologist William Jankowiak and his colleagues at the University of Nevada surveyed 168 cultures around the world, expecting to confirm that romantic kissing was a human universal. Instead, they found the opposite. Only 46% of the cultures they studied showed any evidence of romantic lip-to-lip kissing. The Mehinaku of the Amazon found it strange enough that they'd bite each other's eyebrows as affection instead. When the Thonga people of southeastern Africa first saw Europeans kissing in the 1890s, their reaction wasn't romance. It was disgusting. So if kissing isn't wired into every human on Earth the same way, where did it actually come from? And why does it feel so automatic to the roughly half of us who do it? The leading explanation starts somewhere you'd never expect: baby food. Long before kissing had anything to do with romance, mothers across human history fed their infants through a practice called premastication, or kiss feeding. A mother would chew food until it was soft enough for a baby with no teeth to digest, then pass it directly from her mouth to the infants, lips meeting lips in the process. This wasn't rare or unusual. It's been documented across cultures worldwide, and researchers have found it in other great apes too, including chimpanzees, gorillas, and orangutans, all of whom feed their young mouth to mouth in strikingly similar ways. Here's why that matters. That early repeated mouth-to-mouth contact wasn't just about nutrition. Researchers studying infant immunology have found that pre-masticated food carries the caregiver's saliva directly into the baby's mouth, exposing the infant's developing immune system to a mix of bacteria and antibodies it wouldn't otherwise encounter. In other words, kiss feeding may have doubled as an early vaccine, delivered through affection. So the hypothesis goes like this: lip-to-lip contact was already deeply wired into the human brain as a signal of intimacy and trust, long before anyone used it romantically. Somewhere along the way, that same gesture, lips touching lips, got borrowed by adults and repurposed for something else entirely. And once you start looking at what actually happens biologically when two adults kiss, that repurposing makes a strange kind of sense. A single 10-second kiss transfers around 80 million bacteria between two people, according to a 2014 study published in the journal Microbiome. That sounds unpleasant until you consider what it might actually be doing. Some researchers propose that kissing evolved, in part, as an unconscious biological test, a way of sampling another person's immune system through their saliva before deciding whether to bond with them further. Your body isn't just checking if you like someone's smile. On some level, it might be checking their biology. That idea connects to something else researchers have long suspected. Humans are drawn to partners whose immune systems are different from their own, because offspring with more diverse immune genes tend to be healthier. A kiss in this light isn't just a romantic gesture. It might be a genetic background check run through your mouth that you're not even aware is happening. Now here's where the story gets a lot older than most people assume. For decades, the earliest confirmed evidence of romantic kissing was traced to a Bronze Age manuscript from South Asia, dated to roughly 1500 BCE. But in 2023, researchers Troels Pank Arbøl and Sophie Lund Rasmussen from the University of Copenhagen and Oxford published new findings in the journal Science that pushed that timeline back by another 1,000 years. Digging through thousands of surviving clay tablets from ancient Mesopotamia, written in cuneiform script, they found clear references to lip kissing dating back at least 4,500 years to around 2,500 BCE. The Mesopotamians, it turns out, had two distinct words for it. One described a friendly or familial kiss, the kind you'd give a child or a relative. The other described something explicitly erotic. Both existed side by side in the same ancient texts, which tells us something important. This wasn't a single culture inventing kissing and exporting it to the rest of the world. It was already a distinct, categorized part of daily life in the Middle East thousands of years before anyone wrote the South Asian texts researchers had previously pointed to. But that ancient intimacy came with a cost nobody was tracking at the time. The same research team found something else buried in those clay tablets, references to a disease called bushanu, marked by painful blisters in and around the mouth. When scientists later recovered ancient DNA from human remains dating back thousands of years, they confirmed the presence of herpes simplex virus, the same virus responsible for cold sores today. Kissing didn't just spread affection through the ancient world, it spread disease alongside it, quietly, mouth to mouth, for thousands of years before anyone understood why. Which brings us back to the fire, and the two people standing close enough to touch. Whatever they were doing in that exact moment, whether it counted as kissing in the way roughly half the world would recognize it, their bodies were running on hardware that started as something else entirely. A mother feeding a child who couldn't yet chew for itself, repurposed over hundreds of thousands of years into something adults now use to test each other's biology, spread disease without knowing it, and, somewhere in the mix, fall in love. It's strange to think that something as small as touching your lips to someone else's carries all of that inside it. A feeding behavior, an immune system check, a 4,500-year-old word split into two categories on a clay tablet in Mesopotamia, and a coin flip, roughly, on whether the culture you were born into even considers it romantic at all. Maybe that's the part worth sitting with. Something that feels this instinctive, this universal, isn't universal at all. It's just old enough and widespread enough that most of us never stopped to ask where it actually came from.